any West pro player, Ark is known best for absolutely dunking on Faxity. However, he is much more than that. He's won an FNCS in the last season, and also is an incredibly good solo Cash Cup player, winning more than I can actually count. So more than 4. He's known as one of the best fraggers in the region, so in this video we're going to find out why it's so hard to fight Ark. Alright, so in this fight, his teammate School gets absolutely packed and pieced in, so that now being a 2v3 makes a great play to go from the floor. Now notice how he's not wasting his time popping bigs. He's got 150 HP, but he still has the HP advantage, so he can just edit the other player down and get a free knock, now making it a 2v2. But now he makes some fantastic peeks. Notice the other player starts to pressure him, and from this angle he crouches underneath the 4-tiled edit and edits the floor up above. Now, from the other player's perspective, he can't see him at all, but Ark can completely see this player, allowing him to hit a 98. Then from here, he makes another really great play where he backs up into the box and does a peanut butter edit, again allowing him to hit a shot where the other player can't see him at all. Now, with the HP advantage, he flies up onto height and does try to get a little bit saucy onto the other teammate, but unfortunately, he is not able to full piece him up here, and this kind of gets drawn out a little bit. So what they end up doing from here is dropping all the way down to low and chopping out the fight. Now, as you notice, the other player is just hiding, and he instantly tries to dash away. So Ark now uses his 3 dashes and his mist to fly and chase him. But from here, this is where the mechanics get beautiful. He drops down on the left side of the wall here, and then does a bottom right 4-tiled edit, which is pretty much the perfect edit you can make in this scenario because the other player can't see him at all. Now, I'll be honest, if in this position he just put a cone in, that would have been great and he could have finished him off quickly. But he got a little too saucy and he went with the full box Mongol Classic, which did make him 50-50 and almost die. But the main lesson learned here is that in 2 different scenarios in this fight, Ark used a bottom right 4-tile edit to completely cut off the line of sight from the other player, giving him the advantage. Now, one thing I want you to keep in mind during this video is that these are his settings. So his X and his Y are 4.2, which is insanely low, same with like a relatively low targeting sensitivity. But the real secret sauce is that he uses a higher building and editing sensitivity. But I think he might be the only keyboard and mouse pro who actually uses this. Now, if I go from my full left of my mouse pad all the way around to the right, I can't even do a 360 on this low sensitivity. Now, this means in close range, his pumping and his tracking is insanely good. But on this low of a sensitivity, most players' mechanics suck, and that's why he has the building and editing sensitivity higher. So he still has the really good aim, but also has good mechanics. Now, I did test this for a little bit after this video, and the one thing I would say about this sensitivity is you really have to learn it, because there's such a drastic change between both sensitivity sides. A crosshair placement was often really bad. Also, if you're a person who ends up pulling out his shotgun a lot whilst he's free building rather than just keeping the blueprints out, you'll probably mess up quite a lot because your sensitivity keeps changing over and over. And that's why if you actually watch Ark build, for the most part, he's just keeping his blueprint out all the time and then just switching to his shotgun whenever he needs to shoot another player. And this is in complete contrast to what a lot of the most mechanical players like Peterbot do, which is that they almost always pull out their shotgun before editing to make sure they have the fastest pullout time. But for Ark, that's really, really difficult to do because your sensitivity will just change every single time you do this. So if these are settings that other people want to adopt, there's definitely a large learning curve to this. I will say though, but because it takes so long for him to turn around, I would imagine that this guy's kryptonite is basically just running around him in a circle like this. I would also say one of the downsides of the sensitivity is that it can throw off your edits a little bit because it's changing from slow to fast. There are a few occasions where Ark misses edits like this and unfortunately dies. Now, this elimination here shows that he has some really nice muscle memory it built up that I think a lot of people wouldn't notice. So as he's falling here, he lands a floor to place on and a wall and instantly hits a window edit with a cone through whilst pulling out his shotgun quickly, allowing him to hit 100 damage shot. Now, I actually think the middle window cone is one of the most valuable things you can learn, and it particularly makes sense for Ark to do this given his low sensitivity. He doesn't have to swing a large edit. This also allows his crosshair placement to be pretty perfect, making hitting shots much easier. But what I think the sickest part of this fight is that after he's reset the wall, he attempts to make a peanut butter edit, but the opponent shoots the wall, destroying it. And his muscle memory is good enough to place another wall and then re-edit this right after that. Then, knowing the other player is going to edit his cone, he doesn't take his pump back out to take a shot. He switches to his assault rifle, which allows him to then break the cone after it's edited because it's so weak, and then finish the fight quickly. Now, this may not look like the most impressive clip of all time, and it's absolutely not, but there's 3 really nice pieces of muscle memory in here that if most players mastered, they'd be way better. Plus, he finished his fight in 2 shots and took 0 damage in return. Now here's a play that I may just be reading more into than is actually there, but something looks really cool about this. The trio get a full 3-1 and get a first knock, so they all obviously start to push up. However, Ark then gets hit by a shot in return and then fully boxes up. Now it makes a pretty bad play just to open and edit in another player's face in 50-50 where they trade damage back in return, but after this he ends up editing the floor above him and then editing the wall and getting the final shot. Now the most likely outcome here is that his strange settings made him select the floor rather than the wall, but I'd like to believe he was trying to do some cool fake out play. Either way, it didn't really matter because the other player just ran away, but this was a potential bait that looked kind of cool. Now this fight here is a really good example of what's called triple footstepping. Unfortunately, you can't see the visual audio in replay mode, but you're just gonna have to believe me that it's there. So if you notice, they get onto this fight to start with and he's on the walls. He's turned to pressure, but he's not overcommitting. Standard way to start any trio fight. Now his teammate cracked from the other players and now you can see they all start to collapse in. But Ark does a really good job of sprinting all the way around to create a full pinch. Now if you notice from this position, all three footsteps are exactly right in front of him. So he's watching all three players. He doesn't need to turn around, no one's sneaking on him, no one's doing anything. And the second that Trant or Trant Dog, whatever this guy's name is, those X's always throw me off, ends up running out of this, now he knows a player is trying to pinch him, so he can just turn around and change his focus onto that guy, who is easily able to box up and wipe out quickly. So by ensuring you're in a position that all three of the teammates' footsteps are directly in front of you, this prevents other teams from being able to pinch you, as you could obviously see when they tried to make a play. And Ark's awareness is insanely good. Notice how in this clip, as he's approaching the player, he spots that one of the other team flies off to the right over to Utopia City. Now what I think is really cool about this is that as he's tarping and blocking the exits for the player he's trying to fight, he's always blocking that right hand side at the same time, whether it's with a wall or the cone edits that he decides to choose. Then since School is also just pressuring in from the other angle, they wipe this player in a matter of seconds and Ark doesn't take a single lick of damage, something which has been a trend so far. Now another way he does something really similar in this next fight is super interesting to me. All three of the members are jumping on Nairo, so it's a 3v1 and this guy's teammates are close by, and just after Ark cracks Nairo's shield, one of the other players starts to shoot him. Now he blocks off this angle, and even though he's built a wall here, the other player can just sit and spray him. So what Ark does is he jumps and hip fires and hits a shot, cracking the other player's shield, making them build and stop pressuring him back. Now without that pressure of being sprayed in the back, he can just easily finish off Nairo. Now in this next clip, he does something really nice when in this position above another player. Now, a really common mistake I see from a lot of average level players is the fact that they do some sort of odd sprint jump to try get an angle onto the player down below. But for the most part, you'll just end up flying way past them and probably dying fall damage. So very simply, Ark just jumps out looking for an angle, and when he doesn't get it, he places a floor, which now gives him a perfect right hand peek to hit a big 129. However, from there, he places a wall, a floor, and then a cone in order to triple protect himself and give him full edit control down below. This means that once he double edits down, he's automatically going to place a cone below, and then all you need to do is edit through the wall and finish the player off. If done correctly, you can do this insanely fast, and if you watch this from the other player's perspective, he basically had zero time to react and was just instantly dead. Now, reload management is one thing that pros are just so much better at than the average person, and this next clip is a fantastic example of that. So he flies up into the sky and approaches Lurk here. And now as he's approaching the wall that the other players built, he places a ramp, a high wall, and then a ramp to make sure he can't get coned. Then when he sees the player going out to the side, he spams a bunch of doubles. This allows him to get down, and once he's placed a cone through the window, yet again, like earlier, he's able to get the opening damage onto Lurk. But here, his instinct of grabbing this wall to the left is fantastic, as this other player tried to do a sprint jump and grab it from him. So then he edits through and grabs the wall to the right, and then carefully while watching the other player, places the one to the left. Now he's just waiting for the other player to reset the cone, so as he's doing this, he's just reloading his shotgun, since at any time he can cancel a reload just by shooting a shot. Unfortunately, this guy has the best awareness of all time and backs up through a window outside of this piece. So as Ark's running around to get to the other side, he sprint jumps, slides, and reloads all at the same time to keep that increased movement speed and get another bullet in the chamber. And from then on, it's just a free elim. Now, if Epic Games would be so nice as to add solo cash cups, then maybe I could do more of these mechanics of the pros videos. But for now, if you want to see why it's impossible to fight Peterbot, you can click on this video right here. Peace.